Beginner or advanced woodworker. Sooner or later, you will encounter warped lumber, and you need to find a way to flatten the slab. This slab was cut from the alligator juniper tree. I got this piece on a road trip to Arizona from a Live Edge dealership, and I've been wanting to build a table out of it for a long time. It is a little bit hard to tell on the video, but the slab has some warping towards the top and the bottom. It needs to be flattened before I start with the resin pours. I have a planer I use for those purposes a lot. However, as you can tell, this one will not fit. So I need to come up with a better idea. I have two wooden flattening jigs that I built a while back, but not only aren't both long enough for the project, the longer one of the two started bending a bit and now wobbles when in use. Also, even after applying pasteworks, the router has a hard time sliding back and forth, making it very difficult to use for larger projects. So it is time for an upgrade. I like one that is made out of metal and that slides easily back and forth, so I checked online to see what I can get. I checked with Rockler and they sell one for $5.99, but it's not even large enough. I checked with Woodpecker and they have one for $1,399. Again, not long enough. And who the hell has laying around $1,399? Well, not me. So I went on Amazon and looked up the parts that I will need to build my own.
There's dirt on my hands, strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand.
And this is what I ordered. Of course, I link everything in the description below in case you like to build your own. I ordered a linear rail slide for $43.98. Linear rails for $80.99. Two pieces of acrylic for $21.59. However, you will only need one acrylic piece. I did order two just in case I break it. It's $10.80 for one. You will need some shaft collars for $12.99. Also, you will need a few screws for the project. Those I found in my screw drawer. And of course, you will need a router. I would recommend a full-sized router, not a hand trimmer. While in the past I have flattened slab with my handheld router, I would recommend a bigger one for this project. So far we are at $148.76 for this project, plus screws and router if you need. But again, any full-size router will do. You might already have one at home. I started by cutting the acrylic into 3 parts. You will need a 5.5-inch piece for the router tray and two 2.5-inch pieces for the sides. The acrylic can be cut on your table saw, just like any piece of wood. Drilling the holes in the correct position is the most difficult part about this project. Especially some of the holes you cannot just easily mark from the top, since the screw will be attached from the bottom. Initially, I wanted to make myself a template with my laser, but it takes some time and not everyone has a laser machine. So I went with the cardboard and pen trick. I laid the paper on top of the holes and pressed the pen through them. Then I used this template to mark the center of the holes with black Sharpie. This gives you the location of the holes. To drill the holes, I recommend a drill press. Only a few have been successful with a handheld drill. So if you did order a second piece of acrylic, knock yourself out and give it a try if you feel confident enough. If not, just use a drill press. I'm sure you already noticed. I forgot my safety glasses, but here they are, so we can all relax, right? Safety first. And oh boy, I did need those safety glasses this time, because I did do a little bit of a mess up there. But you will see later. Occasionally, some of the acrylic will keep sticking to the holes after you drill it. I just used the second drill bit and clean it out by hand. Also, some of the acrylic might melt and get stuck to the drill bit. I just used the tool to loosen it. It will come out very easily. Once I had the holes for the side pieces drilled, I marked the position of the holes to attach the top sliding rail to it. This one is easily marked with a Sharpie. Before I marked, I made sure the previous hole that I cut fit and everything lines up correctly once I insert the screws. I went back and used the drill press to drill the holes as well, and then I assembled the side pieces. I attached the top rails to the side rails by sliding them into the holes of the top brackets and made sure it slides without effort. Then it was time to work on the router plate. First I laid out the parts to get an estimate on where they will go, and then I used double-sided tape and attached them to the hardware of the top rail. To mark the exact position of the hardware, I assembled the rail and then I stuck the acrylic plate on from the bottom to find the correct placement. This is important because I want the router sled to slide back and forth without causing a lot of friction and being out of line. After all, the reason I'm building this is to get a better slab flattening sled, so I wanted to glide as effortless as possible. Once I had found the correct position, I used my drill press to drill the holes. And here I made a mistake. I put too much confidence in a double-sided tape for some reason and thought it was necessary to hold the piece in place. Also, I did try to fully drill the holes right away, which caused the acrylic shavings from the drilled hole to push the piece off. That was only held in place by the double-sided tape. The piece got stuck on the drill bit and lifted off the piece. It rotated around the drill bit at high speeds before the bit broke and catapulted the piece across the room before it even knocked off a second piece. Well, that could have ended very differently. I don't even know what I was thinking of not holding the piece in place and wanting to drill the holes all the way through. So be smarter. Hold the piece in place. You don't even need much pressure. Just a bit. And most of all, only pre-drill the hole. And take off the piece and then fully drill it. Following these guidelines, I drilled the rest of the holes without any issues. I used a Forstner bit to cut the hole in the middle. This will be needed for the router bit to slide through the acrylic once it's attached to the router. I'm not sure just yet, but I might have to drill a larger hole in the future to accommodate larger bits. I'm looking at a 1.5 inch wide one to fasten the time that I need to flatten the slab, but again, this can easily be adjusted. Once I had all the holes cut, I assembled the rest of the pieces. Don't forget to tighten the screws that hold the top rail in place. You don't want the router to come off the rail once you turn it on. To give a second safety measure at the end of the rails, I use those collar shafts. They are not needed. You can also just use some clamps from keeping the hardware from the top rail to slide off the bottom rail once you get close to the ends. It's just much nicer and really only $12.99, so in my opinion it's worth it. And we are fertig with this build. Look how easily it slides back and forth. You can't even compare it with a wooden flattening sled. It's just awesome. It's so much fun sliding it back and forth. I really can't wait to use it. I do have a few upcoming projects that I will need it for, so I'm glad I finally got to build it. It's been on my list for a while now. Anybody can make use of it, and the best part, you can easily disassemble it and store it away in a small place, so it really doesn't take as much space in your workshop. For now, I'm gonna start by flattening the alligator juniper slab so I can use it for an upcoming project. The side rails will have to be adjusted in height. You can easily do so by placing plywood pieces underneath the side rails and then screwing them into the table to secure them. This system is totally customizable. If you like, you can add a dust port onto the acrylic. There are different designs out there for that. But I just don't have the space and time for all this in my workshop. It's easier to just use it and then clean it up. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you have not done so. Most importantly, click the bell button to get notified of new videos. If you can, please join my Patreon for more videos and pictures. This helps me create more YouTube videos. Thank you so much for your support. See you next Friday. Tschüss und auf Wiedersehen.